Hello everybody and welcome back to another video, and today we are ranking the albums of the Swedish progressive metal band Evergrey. They're from Gothenburg, I think. I might have that wrong, but they have 15 studio albums, I think. Yeah, 15. I probably miscounted, but 15 albums, I think. I listened to all of them over the past like two-ish weeks, so now I'm gonna rank them, but we're also gonna go through them and listen to them. Not all of them, but we'll listen to some snippets. Here we have these absolutely glorious people right here. As you can see, I just finished listening to their most recent album. So, I think we'll go in order from their first album onwards. So, go in. At first, we have The Dark Discovery, which from memory is drastically different to everything else. Yeah. This song's really good. We can go through and... I remember this song, December 26th, being really good. Yeah. Then Closed Eyes was really good. Yeah. I feel like when the River Calls was the one that they played live a few times. This song, Shattered, had some really nasty bass. There is no... Yes, that's their first album, The Dark Discovery. And then... Okay, there's definitely a way easier way I can do this, but... Next you had Solitude, Dominance, Tragedy, which I would say was like the beginning of like their kind of prime run that they had. You know, this song's on the last album, I don't know why that's there. Obviously you got Solitude Within, which they play quite a bit, Words Mean Nothing. She Speaks to the Dead, with the...
Father, I've seen her through the window. She's been summoning spirits. She's brought a curse on us all. And for that, she has to be punished. And I got these voices in my head telling me I gotta stop her. Cause she speaks to the dead.
Now that intro right there. The absolutely goated album right here. Nosferatu. The really fire chorus. Yeah, I don't think that's something wrong with it. And then next is like their first kind of actually really top tier album, In Search of Truth.
I have decided to keep this tape recorder with me at all times. Just so that I maybe one day can explain all the strange things happening to me. The lack of sleep, the loss of time, but most of all the sensation of never being lonely. Always being watched.
I love the intros they do on these albums with the. Yeah, I love the intros they do on these first kind of few albums where they have like the, the talky intros and stuff. Of course, Rulers of the Mind, very cool song. Mark of the Triangle, Misled, a couple live versions up the back here. Next is Recreation Day, yeah. Recreation Day, Great Deceiver. They got such cool choruses on this album. As I Like You Bleeding is pretty dark from memory. Of course, Recreation Day. Everywhere, the beginning of my Recreation Day. Yeah, I love the stuff they do with the keyboards on these early albums. Just like the. And like the in the background stuff. Trilogy of the Damned, I believe, is a medley of songs from the first two albums. I might be wrong. Next is my introduction to the band. Okay, what are we doing? My introduction to the band, that being The Inner Circle, which has the very famous.
I'm in walls of an endless circle, walking paths you never heard of, struggling in an endless battle.
Okay, I'm probably gonna get copyrighted if I play too much of this song. And of course you get the.
Crown me king and be my servant.
This has one of my favorite choruses ever, this song. I'm definitely getting copyrighted if I play any more of that song, so when the walls go down.
Lord, if you don't help me, I can't get through this. I can't. Lord, I'm too old for games. Foolish ones.
This is such a cool song, bro.
And I'm... Go to hell! No weeping! Not a word of prayer! It's all ruined! No laughing. This is life and death. The walls go down! And ruin sets in!
It's an absolutely goated final song for an album. I feel like this album is about a guy who joins a cult, I think, and then realizes it's bad, so don't join cults, kids. I feel like, I forgot to talk about In Search of Truth. It's about, a guy who's, like, allegedly being abducted by aliens. I need to listen to this live album as well, A Night to Remember. And you get Monday Morning Apocalypse, which people really don't like for some reason. Even though you get... My only problem with this song is the chorus is kind of annoying, but still catchy and fun to sing along to. In Remembrance, very underrated song here. Wow.
If you don't desert me, I won't let you die. In remembrance of all the things you used to do.
Yeah, that song would definitely fit on one of the earlier albums. Got Still in the Water, which is like the famous one from this album.
We're still in the water.
I like this. Also Obedience as well. And then they kind of fell off after that. For the next two albums. You get Torn, which does have Broken Wings, which is quite a good song. I feel like, yeah, this song's pretty good. Otherwise the rest of the album's only kind of mid, and then that's helpful. And then it's like, yeah, the Glorious Collision as well didn't have many songs on it that I remembered quite a bit. It was really good. This was also like the beginning of their new era, so they kind of like changed their sound and became, they had less of like the gothic kind of sound and went more just straight prog with their stuff. Hymns to the Broken, very enjoyable album. King of Errors, obviously a classic. This song, Black Undertow, is very good. Yeah, Hymns to Grand Collapse. Yeah, and then Storm Within. Bruh, I feel like there wasn't anything much memorable on this album either. Floor Jensen's on the album though, which is pretty cool. Also, back on Glorious Collision, Hans Van Dahl, is that his name? Was the drummer, and he's the drummer for Sabaton now. The Atlantic. This album was very overhyped in my opinion. It's still quite a good album. Obviously, you get the start. Weightless. I feel like this song's really good. But then it's like, they definitely kind of returned to form with The Atlantic. Escape of the Phoenix is quite a good album as well. Where August Mourns. James LaBrie's on the album as well, which is pretty cool. Eternal Nocturnal's a classic, same with the title track. Then there's a live album. And that a silent arc spelt with a K randomly. It's actually a pretty good set. Mark of the Triangle. King of Errors is the final encore. It's kind of crazy though. Heartless Portrait I really liked. Alright, when they did the song Save Us, they put a thing out that was like, hey, record you saying Save Us and we'll put it into the song. I think my dad might be on it, I'm not sure though. Midwinter Pause. Ominous is pretty cool. Calling Out the Dark is also a pretty classic. Title track as well. And then you get this album, Theories of Emptiness. I remember when it came out, liking it quite a bit. Life from the Sun. Misfortune, great. This song's pretty good. This song's also pretty good. And it gets kind of mid throughout there. My boy Jonas Rensk from that band, Catatonia. Our Way Through Silence, also a pretty good song. And yeah, Theory of Emptiness, which is basically just When the Walls Go Down 2.0, but the new stuff. And then Architects of the New Wave I listened to a few minutes ago, and it's definitely heavier in some spots. Like, I feel like these first two songs are a lot heavier to some of the other stuff that has been around for a while. But then it just kind of got boring. It was like after Heaven, I feel like it got kind of boring. Just like, I feel like that happens with most Evergrey albums, either they start off boring and they get good, or they start boring and they start good and then they get boring. It's an interesting thing that I've noticed happen. But now we have to rank them. In last place, it's definitely gonna be Torn. Like, this album's just so boring. Torn. Some of the Glorious Collision, I feel like nothing really happens on those two albums. Difference is, like, Glorious Collision I think sounds better because it's like the first of the not refined, but first of the new sounds. They kind of were innovating and doing something different. I feel like it might be Storm Within next. Again, Storm Within pretty forgettable. That's like the thing with these three. I feel like they're quite forgettable albums. And Torn in particular, really, just nothing really happens. That's my main problem with the album. I think... I feel like next would probably be the new album, maybe? Architects of the New Wave. Actually, I feel like Architects of the New Wave was more... Actually, yeah. Architects of the New Wave can go there. I'll probably have to listen to it multiple times this year for when I do my best of for the year. So, it's bound to change, you know, I could randomly listen to Torn one day and really like it, so... They're bound to change, you know. Then I think... The Atlantic. Wait. Hold on. Just have to look through and make sure I don't do something stupid here. Yeah, I think it'll probably be The Atlantic next. Yeah, I feel like The Atlantic was very overhyped. People were hyping it up a lot and being like, oh, it's so good, you know, it's gonna be like the best thing ever. And then I listened to it and was like, wow, A Silent Arc didn't need to be 8 minutes long. Like, it's still a good song, but it didn't need to be 8 minutes. It's falling into Avenged Sevenfold territory where it's kind of like the songs just drag quite a bit. And even then, like, Evergrey are known for having not super duper long songs, so it's like, you know. And probably Escape of the Phoenix next. I like Escape of the Phoenix. I think it's a good album. Same with... Actually, I think Theories of Emptiness can go below Escape of the Phoenix. Again, two solid albums. Like, I think the only album I probably wouldn't go back to is Torn. And The Glorious Collision, and maybe Storm Within, but... Everything else I'll quite happily go back and listen to again. Next, I think we'll go... The Dark Discovery. The Dark Discovery is an interesting one, because it is just so drastically different to everything else. Because obviously, like, they were brand new at the time, trying to figure out their sound. Okay, I was seeing how long I'd been recording for. Obviously, like, it's very much like early Nightwish, I feel like. I definitely get early Nightwish vibes from that album. Then probably, yeah, I think the Orphean Testament would be next. It's really good. Like, it's surprisingly good. You know, by the time I got to The Storm Within, I kind of lost hope. It's like, oh, all the albums are gonna be only okay. Obviously, I knew Theories of Emptiness and was like, hey, at least it's got, like, some good songs on it. And I knew a couple songs from Phoenix. And then it was like, I got up to the Orphean Testament, listened to it, and was like, holy crap, why is this so good? So it's definitely on that spot. And I think Hymns for the Broken can go over it, but it's only, like, just beaten. I feel like they're interchangeable depending on the mood I'm in. Same with the Dark Discovery, I feel like it could go anywhere based off of my mood. Next, I think Hymns for the Broken I enjoyed quite a bit. Especially because it was after the Glorious Collision and Torn, which were pretty lackluster. But I think it's Solitude Dominance next. Very good album. Like, I don't have any complaints. It does kind of get a little boring at times, but I think that's just because I've not been in a great mood lately, so I don't get over, you know, stuff seems a bit more boring than it actually is. I think the next four are very interchangeable. Well, I know exactly what my number one is, and my number two. I think these next two are pretty interchangeable. But that is In Search of Truth and Recreation Day. I think they're pretty interchangeable, again, just depending on what mood I'm in. I feel like In Search of Truth is a bit slower. No, In Search of Truth definitely has faster segments than Recreation Day, but is definitely a lot more gloomier. Recreation Day is still a pretty dark album, but they're definitely. Why is my chat noise playing? I'm not live, huh? Yeah, these two definitely interchangeable. In Search of Truth, you get the Master Plan, Misled, Rules of the Mind, Mark of the Triangle. You know, all those bangers. Recreation Day, title track, As I Lie Here Bleeding. Blinded as well was pretty good. You know, so many bangers on these albums. Number 2, very controversial take. Monday Morning Apocalypse. Most people have it like down here with Torn. People like Torn more than Monday Morning Apocalypse, which I've never understood. Holy crap, Monday Morning Apocalypse. Obedience, Still in the Water. Flippin' the title track, Lost. In Remembrance, dun dun. Of all the things you used to do, in remembrance. Just, they absolutely cooked on this album, and it has like the perfect balance of the original sound, the newer stuff, and just other stuff. They just absolutely cooked here. But then number 1 is just personal bias. From like literally this album was the only thing I knew from Evergrey for so long, which is The Inner Circle, which is probably a top 10 album of all time. Of course, you get Such a Blessing, Essence of Conviction, When the Walls Go Down. Just great songwriting, great album. You know, I think this might be my list. I feel like these two can definitely change depending on what mood I'm in. Same with, I feel like Solitude Dominance could be lower than these two here, depending on the mood I'm in. But I think this is a good ranking. Drop yours below for the 2 people who watch this. Yeah, leave a like, subscribe. I think I'm gonna do Dream Theater next, which should be fun. I'm trying different formats for the ranking videos. As you know, like, first one I just kind of read off of a script. Next one I did me sitting in my corner, kind of reading off a script. And then the last one, I basically just, you know, said what I thought in the moment. Now I've kind of done playing some of the stuff from the albums, but I'm probably going to get copyrighted and probably not going to do that, but hey, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.